हा बोला सर, आवाज येतोय. हॅलो.
Hold your mic properly, Panjwani sir.
सर बाहेर पडले. हॅलो.
हो ना.
हॅलो संजनी सर. सुरेश सर बाहेर पडले बहुतेक सर. सुरेश सर सर तुम्ही सुरू करतात का सुरेश सर तोपर्यंत?
प्लीज कॉल करून बघा ना.
सर बाहेर पडले तर काय संजवानी सर बाहेर पडले.
एक
कोरोना वायरस या कोविड-19 से आज पूरा देश लगा है, पर यहाँ
now technical feature is there. Very sorry, forgot Madam Honorable Rahul Bo. Now due to technical that data problem, coordinator he will rejoin after some time. So first of all, I welcome all of you. Good evening, all dignitaries, all the panelists, my colleagues, principal, all my faculty members, and dear participants. Now this is the e-conference. Now this is our first attempt to have this industry academia partnership program. We are conducting this 2 days e-conference definitely with the help of our esteemed alumni, Shri Anil Bhojwani, who has passed out from Anuradha College of Pharmacy. So I am delighted to have such a great personalities over here. Honorable Shri Rahul Bondre,
Yes,
Secretary, Paramhans Ramakrishna Muniva Shikshan Sanstha. Honorable Dr. Pooja Bhogat Madam, Vice President, Head of Development Operations, Kynaps Seniors Health Company. Honorable speakers, different speakers for this 2 days conference. Honorable Shalini Dwivedi Madam, Director, Development Operation, Kynaps Seniors Company. Honorable Andrea Paluch, Senior Manager, Medical Writing and Medical Information, Kynaps Seniors Health Company, United Kingdom, England. Our esteemed alumni, Shri Anil Ji Bhojwani, Manager, Medical Writing and Medical Information, Kynaps Seniors Company. Honorable Nitika Vij Madam, Manager, Regulatory Affairs, Kynaps Seniors Health Company, United Kingdom. My principal colleague, Dr. Khade, Dr. Pagore, and enthusiastic coordinator, Professor Panjwani, all my dear students and participants. Now let me introduce first Anuradha Group of Pharmacy Institute. Anuradha Group of Pharmacy Institute, it represents 3 institutes. It is a cluster of Pharmacy Institute. Anuradha College of Pharmacy Chikhli, PRMSS Anuradha College of Pharmacy Chikhli, Karmayogi Tatesaheb Bondre Institute of Pharmacy Chikhli, which is located in district Buldhana, Vidarbha region of Maharashtra state. Now our institute has established 25 years before, and definitely this is our attempt to have the interaction and the partnership with the industry, and I am very much overjoyed to have such a dignitaries for this inaugural program. I want to introduce the dignitaries for this particular inaugural program. Honorable Shri Rahul Bondre, our mentor, our backbone of our institute, and a very visionary a man, a passionate leader, who is the Secretary, Paramhans Ramakrishna Muniva Shikshan Sanstha, who is the ex-MLA of Chikhli constituency, and who is the President, Congress Committee, Buldhana district. Very enthusiastic, and we the regular activities of Anuradha College of Pharmacy, now these are governed with the initiation and with the guidelines of our Honorable Secretary Sir. By his qualification, he is an engineer B. I welcome Sir to this conference, and definitely I am overjoyed to have Honorable Dr. Pooja Bhogat Madam. She is the Vice President, Head of Development Operations, Kynap Seniors Health Company. Now, Madam brings a unique breed of operation experience, global leadership, and technical expertise, establishing Kynap Seniors Health Company as a global market leader in clinical trial disclosure. Currently, Madam has leading development operations group where she is responsible for clinical trial disclosure, medical writing services, program excellence, and adds value to clients and the patient they serve. She has over 17 years of experience in the life sciences industry with 10 years in clinical trials disclosure and transparency. She joined Kynapse in 2006, a company which provides a clinical trial disclosure, provides consulting and outsourcing services to the life sciences industry. Madam has started her career in pharmaceutical industry as a PhD in microbiology and thereafter moving to service industry with roles of increased responsibility across several areas. Madam has recognized externally as a global thought leader in clinical trial disclosure and has presented at or chaired sessions at several national and international conferences like ICSR Annual Conference, New Delhi CBI, Clinical Data Transparency Conference in Philadelphia, CBI, Lay Summary Conference in Amsterdam. She recently delivered a Kynapse webinar on plain language summaries attended by over 100 industry leaders. She is a very well versed with various regulations and is an active member of DIA, Drug Information Association Community, and several other working groups. She has several international publications in peer-reviewed journals and has also won several awards and fellowships at the national level. Really, I am very happy, madam. I welcome on another group of Pharmacy Institute to this particular e-conference. And really, I am very thankful to you that you have spared time and it could become possible definitely due to our alumni, Mr. Anil Bhujwani. So I also extend my thanks to Mr. Anil Bhujwani, sir. So I again welcome all the dignitaries, all the guests, all the panelists and participants to this particular conference. I am really very happy to around, madam, around 1500 participants they have registered for this particular conference. And right now, around 450 have logged in and remaining will definitely will participate through YouTube. So this is a huge response and this is the beginning. In the coming days, we are looking for the partnership in the near, good partnership in the near future. I again welcome all of you and I I request the dignitaries to inaugurate this particular conference. Shailesh sir, please help.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, you continue, please.
Now I would like to request to Honorable Rahul Babu Bondra sir and Honorable Pooja Phogat madam to inaugurate the today's program.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you, sir. Thank you, madam. With this, our program is inaugurated. Thank you,
Thank you,
sir.
sir. Thank you,
Thank you,
madam. Thank you,
madam.
sir.
Now I would like to request to Honorable Shri Rahul Babu
Sir.
Bondra sir to share his view. Please, sir.
Hello, and a very warm welcome to all the dignitaries, all honorable speakers, participants, principal, and all of you. Today, I'm very glad to inaugurate this function, Industry Academy Partnership Program, 2 days e-conference on pharma profession and opportunities. Anuradha Group of Pharmacy Institutes has been established by a visionary leader, our founder chairman, Karmayogi Tata Saheb Bondre. Now, these institutes have grown in, it has become an educational hub now, and grown in educational hub in small town like Chikli in Vidarbha region of Maharashtra in India. Many students from different institutes, they have proven their excellence in academic record since last 25 years, and now they are in different on different positions in India and even in abroad. Now we have started this partnership program with Kinapse, Seniors Health Company based in UK and US. This company has been listed in NASDAQ America and having around 25,000 employees. So I'm looking for a good confederation with Kinapse, working together hand in hand. Definitely will help the students, meritorious students from our region, and even that will help the industry also. So I always think that industries and educational institutes should work hand in hand, and this is a very good example for that. I congratulate our team, all the ACP team, for the huge response in this virtual conference. I also take opportunity to welcome Honorable Dr. Pooja Phogat, who is the Vice President, Head of Development Operations, Kinapse. Also extend my best wishes for this conference. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir. Now I would like to request Honorable Dr. Pooja Phogat, madam, to share her view regarding today's event. Please, madam.
Thank you. A very good evening to all of you, and I'm really very pleased to hear the number of participants who not only registered for this conferences but are also attending the conference today. I would like to welcome all of you to the 2 days virtual conference on pharma profession and opportunities. I'm very honored to be invited to inaugurate this conference and would like to thank the Anuradha Group of Pharmacy Institute for the same. So before I share my views on the initiative, I think it would be useful for the audience specifically here to know a little bit more about our company. So Kynaps Limited, it provides leading services to life sciences organizations and regulators. It offers services in the field of medical writing and medical information, clinical trial disclosure, pharmacovigilance, and drug safety, as well as regulatory affairs. Kynaps as a company was founded in 2005, and and as has already been mentioned, the company has offices in the UK, US, and in India we have offices in Gurgaon and Bangalore. And as of August 2018, Kynaps was acquired by Syneos Health. And I'm sure some of you may already be aware of this company. It is one of the top 3 leading CRO company with over 24,000 employees and offices worldwide. So coming to the initiative, I'm really very supportive of these types of initiatives that reduces the gap between industry and students and helps to bring them closer. And I definitely think we should have more of these initiatives. And in fact, when I heard about this initiative, it took me back to the days when I was a student and how much I wish that we had such programs during those times that would allow exchange of knowledge, and not only exchange of knowledge, but would also open opportunities for future for all of you. While pursuing my master's degree, followed by PhD, I was myself not sure which direction my career would take. Should I pursue research and go abroad, do teaching, or join industry? And then as I finished my PhD, I got an offer from Ranbaxy, which was a popular pharmaceutical industry at that time. So that was my entry or movement from academia to industry. And then eventually I joined Kynaps in 2006. I started my journey as a medical writer and wrote numerous regulatory documents like CSRs, narratives, clinical overviews, summaries, and for a couple of years before working on clinical trial disclosure deliverables again as a writer. The reason I'm reiterating it as all the time today is because of the solid foundation and learnings I had as a writer. Eventually, I was lucky to get opportunities to move up the ladder and was leading a service line just in 8 years of joining a new organization. That's the beauty of working at Kynaps, a company that recognizes talent and provides a platform to grow in the organization. I'm very pleased with the journey so far, but I still feel very strongly that how much I would have appreciated the opportunity to have participated in something like this when I was a student. Well, it's never too late, and I'm so pleased to see that we are bridging the gap and hosting events like these where we can bring students closer to the industry. So the agenda, I went through the agenda, and the agenda for the 2 days is really very, very good. And the topics have been very carefully picked, keeping the benefit of the audience at the forefront. All the presenters are extremely knowledgeable in their areas, with Anil Bhojwani, of course, being the alumni of Anuradha College. And I would definitely like to share that we are very proud of what Anil has been able to achieve in the organization. He has had an exceptional career and is very valued and respected senior member in my group. The other point I would like to highlight is that all the presenters, if you would get the opportunity to look at the profile, they all had a similar starting point in academia, having a life sciences degree, and they all are working in the same industry, and in this case, in the same company itself. But they fulfill very different roles, and despite starting in the same place, their careers have developed very differently and very successfully. So their journey has been very successful, and I'm sure journey of all of you will be very successful if you are being guided and provided the right direction by your seniors and by experts from the industry. So in the end, I would like to thank everyone again, and I wish the students all the best and would really like to encourage you to get as much from the session as possible. So all the best for the for the 2 days of the conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, madam. Thank you very much for being with us and also given the consent, the industry academia partnership program with the another group of pharmacy institute. Thank you, madam. Now we'll move over the next session that it's for day one session. Today there will be 6 sessions. In session one, Honorable Andrea Poluch madam will enlighten us on the topic of career adversities, staying focused and strong. And in session two, Honorable Anil Bhojwani sir will explain how to become a competent medical writer. Now I would like I would like to call the respected K.R. Biani sir, Dr. K.R. Biani sir, to introduce our first speaker, Honorable Andrea Poluch, madam. Please, sir.
Thank you, Panjwani sir. Now we are going to start our speeches today. Now the first speaker, Honorable Andrea Polish Madam. She is a Senior Manager, Medical Writing and Medical Information, Kynaps Seniors Health Company, United Kingdom. I welcome you, Madam. Andrea Madam got her first job in the industry in 1999, armed with degree in genetics and an interest in molecular biology and immunology, as well as in clinical and applied research, working as a CRA for 6 years and as a medical writer for the last 15 years. She has gained considerable experience in clinical development. Andrea, Madam, has a keen interest in training and development. Madam has volunteered at the European Medical Writer Association for 10 years, from 2009 to 2019, during which she performed various roles and gained most of her experience as a trainer On behalf of Anuradha Group of Pharmacy Institute, I welcome Honorable Andrea Pauluch Madam to this conference, and I request Madam to start her session. Thank you, Madam.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, thank
Hello.
you. Can you hear me well?
Yes, madam.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
I'm trying to see what I should present. um, can you see the screen just with this,
Yes, madam.
the initial slide?
Yes, Andrea, we can
Yes,
see your
yes.
screen.
Okay, thank you. So hello and welcome everyone. I'm very honored to have been invited to this conference, so thank you very much. And I'm here to talk to you today about career adversities, staying strong, staying focused and strong. So I'm Andrea Pollock. I work at Kynaps. I'm a senior manager in the medical writing and medical information department, working under Pooja's and Shalini's leadership. So this is my disclaimer. I want to give you a warning that everything that I'm going to present here today is about my personal life. So this presentation is very biased. It's filled with my personal views and my opinions and facts of my own life. In no sense it's relates to the policies or the views of Kynaps. So just that this is really clear. And I'll start with a very provocative question of who am I and why am I here today? So I'll first give you my professional answer. I'm from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. So I'm Brazilian. And I've been living in the UK, in London, since 2004. I'm a biologist. I have a major and a master's in genetics. And I've been working in pharma with clinical trials and drug development since 1999. I joined Kynaps in 2016 as a senior manager in medical writing. And a bit like what Pooja was saying, my debut in pharma was totally unexpected. I really didn't kind of plan for it. And my move from academia to the industry was triggered by a big adversity, which changed my life professionally and personally. And I could have never planned for that or dreamed of that. So here I ask you, who are you and what is your why? Why do you wake up every day? Why do you show up here today? Why did you come to this conference? I'm sure that all of you have goals and objectives in life. As said at the beginning of the event, this event was planned for those of you who are in your last year of academic life. So I'm sure you have lots to look forward to on your new beginnings as a professional in this career. But if you don't know who you are and what you stand for, what your values are, what you care for, it's really difficult to find your why. And I'll leave you with this blank canvas there so that you can start writing now the path of your own life, your professional life. And my main focus here today, and this idea that I want to really leave this presentation with, is that adversity means opportunity. And adversity is a difficult or unpleasant situation. Bad things happen to good people every day. And I'm sure you can relate with what I'm saying. And when that happens, and it happens to me, it happens to you, you know, that first thought is, why is this happening to me? This is so unfair. Why me? Why did I deserve for this to happen? And how will I cope? So, you know, I've learned throughout my personal and professional life that It's really horrible. It's an awful feeling when you're going through it, and you really sometimes you can't even see the light at the end of the tunnel. But further down, you will know why that happened, and you realize that it was a blessing. So, in the school of life, we all know that there is birth, there is life, and there is death. And in between birth and death, you will go through a lot of adversities and challenges and change throughout your life. This is inevitable. It's a natural part of life. We can't escape it. And if you go with the flow and you learn to turn a negative situation into a positive situation, that's really the what you require to succeed in life. Because if you struggle, if you go against it, if you go against the flow, you spend a lot of energy trying to swim against that current, and the result is that you end up back or stuck, or even worse, burnt out, completely burnt out. So before we look, going forward. So before we look into how to turn a negative into a positive and strive during these challenging times, I want to talk to you a little bit about negativity and negative things, because nowadays there is this huge attention to feeling positive, feeling great. We all have to smile, and we all have to sometimes pretend that everything is well and good. So the title of this slide is actually the title of a book, Stand Firm, Resisting the Self-Improvement Craze. And one of the quotes from the author is that happiness is simply not the appropriate response to many situations in life. And I wanted to bring this to your attention because you need to know that bad things will happen. And it's how you prepare for those things that will make a difference. This is quite a lengthy writing slide, but again, it's still from Sven Brinkman. And I'll leave you to read it on your own time. But mainly what he says is that, you have to get used to your thoughts and your emotions, and all of your thoughts and emotions, anger, sadness, despair even, they all part of you as a human being. So if you don't get used to these feelings, you cannot deal with them. And I want to call attention for the last paragraph that says, ultimately, negative emotions play an important and healthy role in how we understand and react to this world. Guilt and shame are essential to a sense of morality. Anger is a legitimate response to injustice, and sadness help us all through process tragedy. And happiness is great too. It's just not all the time. So with that thought, for one last slide, I'll keep in this negative theme. And when I say negative, I'm not talking about people who, nag or moan or are always complaining, being petty about things. But really, what I would like to call attention here is how can you become comfortable to say no? And I don't expect you to know who this chap is, but he was a French photojournalist. He, after a very tragic event in his life at the age of 30, he finally, freed himself to go travel the world. And he ended up in Brazil in 1940, in mid to late 40s. And he became like really important, developed really important work on biology with the, the African culture in Brazil. And I apologize for this translation of this quote, because being French and then moving to Brazil, you know, I couldn't find this quote translated into English, so I had to do my own version of it. And it's, I'll try make you feel and understand what he's saying. And he says, the only conclusion I can draw by taking a look at my life, you know, all that I've done, the years that he lived, and where he was then when he said this sentence, is that I've never really knew quite clearly what I wanted, but I knew very well what I didn't want. And in knowing so, knowing what he didn't want, and by refusing to do what he did not like to do, without noticing, his life took shape somehow. And this is his name, Pierre Fatumbi Verger. And this was a documentary about his life that was in Brazilian TV in 1996. And I remember this quote very well because it's in the inner cover of my thesis, my master thesis. So how did my professional life took shape? I knew my why and I had a focus. I wanted to do medical research and genetics research, but I couldn't bear the thought of treating patients. So going to medical school for me was just not an option. So I had lots of questions at this time, you know, when we are finishing high school and going into university, where I would talk to people and ask friends or family, you know, who were medical doctors, what would be best for me? What should I do? What would give my career a better chance, you know, a better prospect? And what really would make the difference? And I didn't have answers to all these questions back then. But in looking for answers and guidance from other people, my mentors at the time, but 25 years ago, we just didn't have this kind of word or terminology. You know, we just talk to people, talk to family and friends. So that built me the confidence and the determination to follow what I wanted to do, which was medical research. And I applied for a biology degree at a university in Brazil, in Rio. Then, when I wanted to leave academia, I planned. I did a lot of planning. I knew I wanted to get a job outside the academic world. I just didn't know exactly what my options were. But, you know, this element of planning again is very important when you want to go through change. So I planned for my first job in pharma. I planned for my permanent move to London. And with all that, I also planned when I moved from being a CRA. My first job in pharma, in my first 6 years in pharma, I was a clinical research associate monitoring clinical trials. And at some point I said, that's enough. It involved a lot of traveling and I just didn't want to do that anymore. I always loved writing, and I found out there was a job that you could do medical writing. So when I moved into medical writing, I had definitely lots of skills and lots of knowledge from all those years being a CRA. But I felt the need to really push through and get better quicker at the writing. So I got heavily involved with the European Medical Writers Association, where I got all my training back then as a medical writer. So for where you at, those of you who are in your last year of university, and that's why I'm going to talk about, you know, this period of my life, this change from academia into my first job in the industry. And this key word is resilience. You know, it was very hard. A Brazilian university back in the 90s was very under-resourced. We had very little money for materials, for all the bench work, all the reagents and equipment that is required for a molecular biology lab. And I spent about just over 6 years in academia in Brazil, like I said, with very little resources. But that gave me resilience, this strange capacity to recover quickly from adversity, from difficulties. And there I say in that process, what actually did to me was that it made me really good at spotting the flags. So I didn't actually had to recover. I just had to plan ahead of it happening. Because like I said, change and challenges are part of life and they are going to come when you least expect it. So I finished my undergraduate studies quite uneventfully. I wouldn't say that it was a smooth 4 years, but there wasn't anything major happening then during that time. And I decided to go into my master's. And that's when the problem started. Because, when you're in academia, and back then again, like Pooja was saying, this kind of program that you have nowadays of this interaction with academia, with industry, at least in my country and in my university, was unheard of. Academic life was completely different from industry life. So from my undergraduate studies, I continued working in the same lab. I got into my master's, and all very good at the beginning. But there was one problem. All the work that I had to do in my master, or like the big bulk of work, depended on one very fancy piece of equipment back then called a capillary sequencer. So we are in the 90s, during the Human Genome Project. We were still not fully automated with sequencing genomes. And in my lab, I was still doing manual sequencing with like these huge big plates of glass. You spent hours running a gel, and it was just like very laborious. And it would take like about a week for you to have, I don't know, a couple of hundred base pairs, sequenced and known, knowing the sequence. So I had 2 years to finish my master's, and I was getting into year 2, and we still didn't have this equipment in the lab. I had to still keep sequencing. I was working with HIV. I was sequencing their DNAs manually in the lab. And it was clear to me that if I didn't do anything about it, rather than 2 years, I would probably have spent 10 years in academia doing all that work. So I don't know if many of you would recognize this picture, but it is basically the sequence of bases from a genome that is sequenced in this fancy piece of equipment, the capillary sequencer. And the reason why I chose to put this there, because that's exactly like how I felt with all these peaks and troughs throughout this first year at university, not at university, sorry, during my master's, because every single day was like, oh, the equipment is coming. Oh, it's tomorrow. Oh, it's in the customs. Now we'll be here tomorrow. And the time was ticking. I was getting really, like by then, kind of desperate, and I knew I had to do something about it. Otherwise, I wouldn't have a thesis in 2 years. So I had to think of a plan B. And my plan B was, uh, you know, talking to this PhD student who had come from my lab. He was doing his PhD in the US. He came to Brazil. This was January. I'll never forget, so many years ago, but I'll never forget the details. We're chatting, and he's telling me how wonderful this lab is, and why wouldn't I come join him after I finish my master's? So I said, what about I come now? I can't wait, you know. It was like, okay, we can try that. So within 3 months, um, I had medical doctors sponsoring my ticket. I had my own scholarship, so I had money to live in the US. It was a time that Brazil, the economical situation was really good, and the currency was really strong, so I could survive in the US for a couple of months just to do my bench work for my thesis. And I went. I had in mind that I was going to spend 6 months there, um, and I was going to get that work done. So my plan B was very bold, was very brave. I say this humbly. And it also brought me very new beginnings. And I'll leave you with this thought, that I created the opportunity that I wanted in my life, and so can you. So, you can also be who you want to be. And, these opportunities open us up for change. And I think you can probably see me in the video there. You probably saw my picture and the flyer for this conference. This is a picture of me very recently, just before the lockdown here in the UK. You can see I'm brunette. I'm kind of dark. I have dark eyes. But when I was going to the US, I was in a path in my personal life to become a platinum blonde. And so when I arrived there, and this is actually my picture on the photo card of the university in the US that I went to do all my master bench work, that's how I looked like. And I couldn't, again, it was one of these things that I just couldn't foresee what looking like that would bring to me and into my life. So in 1998, I was there at University of Alabama in Birmingham with a tourist visa, working in this lab without the university knowing about it, funding myself with my scholarship from Brazil. And, just before I go into this, Anil Borjuani, the alumni from the university here, who invited me to speak. He invited me to speak in mid-May, long before all this unrest in the US was happening with George Floyd, and long before this all started brewing. And this was one of the first slides that I put together for this presentation. So it's been there for a while. I moved to Alabama. I don't know how many of you know about this, the American history. I certainly didn't before I went there. In Brazil, we learn the history of the world and geography and all that, but we don't learn things in detail. Alabama in the south of the U.S. is quite a peculiar part of the U.S. and very different from all this idea that we have of a society where everyone has everything. I was still a Brazilian, but I was this platinum blonde Brazilian. And obviously around the university campus, there is in the US, I bet every university, big university is like that. It draws an international community. People from all over the world are there, trying their PhDs, being technicians, working really hard, to be successful. Everyone has the same dream, the American dream. But it was really strange for me to be in that environment. The perception in this international community was very strange. The Americans thought that I was German, sometimes Swiss. And I would think, but why? Where does this come from? Is it really just because of my appearance? The Brazilians thought I was American. When I was introduced to Brazilians, they would speak to me in English. And I was like, I'm Brazilian. Hello, in Portuguese. And they get startled, like, you don't look Brazilian, whatever that is. And to the African Americans, I was just another white person. They, my background didn't really matter. So that drove me into a huge transformation, and it was extremely unsettling. That period of my life really marked me, and because of this idea that I simply didn't belong, I didn't fit in any community. I wasn't part of anything. I was there alone, and I put myself in there, which it was part of that. Why is this happening to me when I was there? But I knew I was there temporarily, and I had my focus. I wanted to finish my thesis in 2 years, and I was going to get all the results I needed during that time within 6 months that I had on my tourist visa in the US. So, and I did. It took me 4.5 months to actually finish all my bench work. And on the last 6 weeks that I had in the US, I went traveling. I had friends who lived in Florida. I went to visit them. And then I went to New York when the Twin Towers were still there. And, I just enjoyed those last 6 weeks. I gave it to me as a reward. I worked really hard during the time I was there, and I really hated living in that place. There were lots of things we don't have time here to go through, but besides this idea that I didn't belong, I was alone, I didn't have my family, I didn't have my friends. It was really tough, but I hang in there because I had a purpose. So when I went back to Brazil, I had 2 missions. One was finishing that damn thesis, and the second was getting out of university. I knew I couldn't bear another experience like that during my PhD. And again, back then in Brazil, it was very common for people in academia, students who were pursuing their PhD, either do at least 2 years abroad or the whole of those years of PhD studying abroad, simply because in Brazil we didn't have resources to do a PhD thesis. So, and the point of knowing that I had to finish my master's was because I knew that was my passport to a successful professional life. And when I felt like I need to get out of here, I need to leave academia, I had no idea what I was going to do, what my options were, or what was there out of university for me. So, I kept thinking about what's next? What can I do next? Always having this focus in mind that, I want it out. How can I make this happen? So I started looking for jobs. And back in that day, it meant that I had to buy the Sunday newspaper on paper edition and go to the vacancy section and just look through everything that was available there. And on one Sunday, I saw this this, this advert, and there were three things that they asked for. It was a postgraduate degree. It didn't say if it was master's or PhD, fluent English, and that degree had to be in medical related, in a medical related subject. So I applied for the job, and I applied for a few other jobs as well. And none of the other jobs materialized. But that one, and again, I'll never forget, it was just before Christmas. It was the 17th of December on a Friday when I got called in for an interview. And I went in this very far away place, from where I lived. I think it took me about 2 hours on a bus to get there. And I had the interview, and they told me, "You hear from us." Okay. It was December, pre-Christmas. Brazil just shuts down during that time. I had a big holiday planned, and when I came back, I had a pack, like a heavy, big pack of SOPs and forms that got sent to me. It was there in my mail, and it said, "You're invited for this course. Please study all this material before you come, and it's part of our selection process." And I can tell you today, I never had a selection process ever again in my life like that one was. So I had a month to study, and then the course came. It was a week course, full time, every single day. We had to be there at 7:30 in the morning, and the course would go for until about 6. We had 12 of us in there. They had 2 vacancies. On Friday night, it was a 2-hour exam after the week course. And then they said again, "You'll hear from us." And that was at the end of January. So I was still having my master's scholarship being paid to me. I defended my thesis in November, but after that period, you still have to like tidy the thesis up, write a paper if you want to, and tidy a few things up in the lab and so on. So I continued to go to the lab. I still had my pay, and my last payment for my scholarship was in March. And mid-February, I received this phone call saying, "Andrea, you're in." And I just couldn't believe, and that flow of emotions still come back to me when from that phone call, from that opportunity that I got. I was so happy, and I was then listening that from whoever called me to say that I got the job. That's when I realized that that's why I had to go through all of this. That's all that horrible experience, all that determination, all that focus that I had in the past was for that, and I just can't describe, how good it felt. So when right there at the beginning, I said, when we're going through that adversity, we don't know why that's happening, but further on, you will find out why, and everything will make sense. So my lessons learned for you, and I apologize if I have run over, I can talk quite a bit, is that know who you are, know your values, know what you care for. Because like I said, that's only by knowing that you'll be able to know your why and show up every day. Very important. Surround yourself with people who you admire, who inspire you, people who support you, and people who can guide you, people that you can learn from them. Because it is another fact of life. The older you get, the more knowledgeable you are, be it on just life or be it in a professional life. Always give yourself, give the best of yourself for anything that you commit to do, remember that, if you say yes, you go for it and you give all that you can. Because by doing that, and only by doing that, a door behind you will never be closed. You move on in your life, you change jobs, and you stay in touch with people, you build that network, you know. And if you follow the simple principle, never a door will be shut behind you. And finally, um, you know, there is this very famous saying that there are certain things that are as certain as um, death and taxes. And I would add there change as well. Change in all shapes and forms, progressive and abrupt, and often when you least expecting it. So the better you prepare, the better you'll be able to overcome that change, that adversity. And finally, be always ready. And as a biologist, um, I could not um, not put this there. So this is Charles Darwin, and I'm sure all of you know who he is. And what he says is, it is not the strongest of the species that survive, nor the most intelligent that survives. It is the one that is most adaptable to change. Thank you very much.
Thank you, madam. Thank you for the nice session. You have told us about the you have giving the message to our student to in every situation how to become a strong, how to mold the particularly how to mold your opportunities will be there, and they should know that they are their strength determination. So thank you very much, madam, and thank you very much for giving a consent for this event. Thank you very much, madam. Now, uh, now we'll move for the second session. Now, I again request
No,
our
no.
below principal.
Question answer.
Sorry, sir. Uh,
Uh,
is there any question answer? There will be one question will be there. One question is from Kiran Thapar. Madam, how molecular biology will help in drug targeting?
Uh, a lot. There is a field of genetics, and because molecular biology is just an instrument, right? So it's called pharmacogenomics, and in cancer, the cancer drugs are very driven by your genome, the cancer genome. Infectology, in virology, I'm a geneticist, virologist as is my background. Like HIV, the drugs are developed, for example, for the type of virus and genome of the virus. So I would suggest that to look for this field of research is pharmacogenomics.
The next question is, madam, importance of molecular biology in future.
I'm I'm very passionate about molecular biology and genetics. It's it's the part, it's the, how do you say, the motor of every drug lab nowadays. Molecular biology and biochemistry is the foundation of drug discovery. And nowadays, since mid to late 2000s, with the next generation sequences, this has accelerated so much. Drug research is phenomenal. So
Madam, next question is, will doing this is any certificate course in medical writing will help to enter in this domain?
Not that I'm aware of. So there are a few courses that give you, they are they are not professional courses in the sense that they will give you like a diploma, but you get a certificate. And there are a few universities in the US who run them. There is a university in Germany, I think the University of Innsbruck, and there is the association. So the American Medical Writers Association and the European Medical Writers Association, they train you. The associations, they train you more in very I would say more technical skills in medical writing. And they do also have like a sort of certificate of I can't remember. It's not a diploma, but it's a sort of certificate that by doing different subjects, you build certificates in different areas of medical writing.
Madam, what are the opportunities to pharma student to enter in the molecular biology?
Oh, I would say it's plenty, especially like the drug research, targeted drug research. Cancer is probably oncology is the best area to be at because it's where you see most investment.
How the pharmacogenomic help in the treatment of COVID? Does it help us to transcode in the viral genome?
Um, I'm not aware of that just yet, but I know Shalini will be talking about COVID tomorrow and researching COVID, so she might have some answers there. What I've been following about COVID so far is, well, it's another field of genetics called phylogenetics, and what we have seen from the beginning of the spread of or the epidemic in China, and the virus that has like the originator virus and all the other genome sequences that we now have of various parts of the world as this pandemic develops. And it's a really interesting, there is a website that got put up solely for that, and if you go there, it's quite scary to see how many different sequences already are.
Next question is, madam, is there possible to study the probiotic by targeting the molecular biology?
Studying what? Sorry, probiotics.
Is there possible to study the probiotic by targeting molecular biology?
I'm not sure. I'm sorry. I can't answer this question.
Okay, madam. Is it any question from panelists? From panelists, is it any question? Sir?
Thank you, Andrea, madam. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks.
I don't have any question, but thanks, Andrea, for sharing all your journey and how you overcome the difficult situations or challenges in your life. So it was good to know, and hopefully it inspired other students who are thinking that they are in trouble or they are having many challenges in their life. But your story was quite inspiring, and hope this will be helpful for all of us. I can say thank you.
Me too.
Thank you
Thank
so much.
you. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, madam.
Thank you,
Now,
Andrea. Thank you so much. It was really positive and really motivational. If it inspires us, like after experience, so obviously I think the student will also get a lot of inspiration from you. Thank you.
now the next session. Now I again call upon the respected Dr. K.R. Biyani sir to introduce our second speaker, Honorable Shri Anil Bhojwani sir. Please, sir.
Yes. Yes, thank you, Andrea, madam. And I am very overwhelmed. I am very happy and glad to introduce our esteemed alumni, Mr. Anil Bhojwani. Mr. Anil Bhojwani, he has completed his graduation in pharmacy, B.Pharm, from Anuradha College of Pharmacy in 2003. Then he did his M.Pharm, post-graduation from Tamil Nadu Dr. M.G.R. Medical University, India. Mr. Anil Bhojwani is presently working as a manager, medical writing and medical information. Shri Anil Bhojwani has over 13 years of total experience in medical writing. He has performed expert clinical and regulatory writing tasks for top global pharmaceutical companies. He has a key assignment include expert review, authoring, and QC of clinical study reports, clinical trial protocols for phase 2 to phase 4 clinical trials, updating investigators, brochure, narratives, preparation of comparative oral viability study protocols, case report forms, informed consent forms, and web synopses for various therapeutic areas, including oncology, metabolic disorders, cardiovascular diseases, and infectious diseases. Mr. Bhojwani also has an experience of writing and peer reviewing protocol registration and result posting on clinicaltrials.gov. His current responsibilities span management of multiple medical writing projects to timelines, facilitating and establishing working relationships within a global team, and negotiating common consensus for achieving on time and high quality deliverables in fast-paced environment. And really, we are very proud to have such a position with our alumni. And he has a total experience of 13 years. He has started his journey as a CRA medical writing at OCAR Limited India from March 2007 to November 2007. Then in bioequivalence, MacLeod Pharmaceutical Limited India as a CRA medical writing from 2007 to 2009. Then he worked as a medical writer from 2009 to 2010. Medical rally at Cognizant Technology Solutions India, and then he had joined Kinase Limited India in 2010. From 2010 to till date, he is working with Kinax Limited India at different positions, right from medical writer, then jump to senior associate, senior medical writer, manager, senior medical writer, principal medical writer, and manager. So really, Shri Anil Bhujwani is an alumni. I welcome Mr. Bhujwani to this virtual conference, and also I want to extend my thanks that he now this conference it could become possible only due to his efforts and with his initiation only. Now, Mr. Bhojwani, we are looking for your future support, future partnership of industry because you can do that because you have that particular vision, you have so many contacts, and really on behalf of Anuradha Group of Pharmacy Institute, I again welcome you, and we are proud you to that you have achieved this particular height at esteemed position you are working and you are belonging to Anuradha College of Pharmacy. Now I request you please you start your session. Thank you.
Thank you so much for introducing me, sir. Before starting this session, I would like to say Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Radeva Maheshwara, Guru Rasakshashta Para Brahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Nama. Whatever I am today is because of my teachers and because of my institute. So what I am doing for you today is a very minute thing. I'm sharing my screen with you. Please let me know once you're able to see my screen.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So the topic for today's session is how to become a competent medical writer. Before starting this session, again, disclaimer from my side, nothing is related to Kinaps. This is my personal opinion. And I compiled this information from some articles that are referred in at the end of this particular slide deck. What are key points I'm going to cover in this session are medical writing, opportunities in medical writing, and attributes. What attributes are required to become a competent medical writer? Considering that most of the audience of this particular session is from academic background, I kept this very simple and straightforward. Feel free to ask me questions at the end of this session. On this note, agenda for this particular presentation is medical writing. We'll discuss in detail what is medical writing. Then we'll see spectrum of medical writing, what all we do in medical writing that we'll see, followed by opportunities for medical writers, what different opportunities are available in market, and especially in this post-COVID situation or COVID era, what all new opportunities are arised that we'll discuss, followed by requirements for becoming a medical writer. What are basic requirements to become a medical writer that we'll see, which comprises domain knowledge, which domain knowledge is required to become a medical writer, and general knowledge. Then we'll see key attributes required in medical writer. What are that key attributes that are must for any medical writer that we'll see. First, medical writing. Medical writing, if we see definition, medical writing is the activity which focuses on communicating clinical and scientific data in different formats. So here keyword is communicating. So whatever research we are performing or whatever medical related stuff are there, that needs to be communicated to different audience, and that can be clinical and scientific data. And I'm pleased to say, or you will be surprised to hear that what I'm going to say is around 90% of communication in medical field happens in written format. So you can imagine the potential of this particular area. 90% of communication in medical field happens in written format, and for that we need medical writers. So there is tremendous opportunity in medical writing. There are different types of writing that are categorized based on requirements. So first category is regulatory writing. Name itself implies that whatever we write for regulatory authority, they need some documentation proof that your medicine is effective or safe or PKs as per requirement or as per desired. So whatever information we submit to regulatory authority comes under regulatory writing. There are many examples that we'll see in our further slides about regulatory writing. Next type of writing is scientific writing, which comprises preparing manuscripts, abstracts, posters for journal publications, presentation in scientific conferences, and symposia. So this comes under scientific writing. So if you have submitted any manuscripts or you have publications or you submitted abstracts and posters, so in a way you are involved in medical writing. You are communicating some medical information in written format. So this comes under scientific writing. Next is medico marketing writing. So this is for marketing purpose. So writing documents about drugs, devices, and biologics for general professional healthcare audiences. So this comes under medico marketing writing. So you may have seen brochures which medical representatives are carrying along with them when they are visiting doctors. So whatever that brochure is prepared, that brochures are prepared by medical writers only. And that kind of writing comes under medical marketing writing. Next is academic writing, writing books or thesis for academic purpose. So this comes under academic writing. So broadly speaking, there are these four categories of or four types of medical writing. Medical writer works with researchers to present research data in a given format for a specific set of audience or for readership. Medical writers make sure that the documents comply with all regulatory requirements, journalistics, or other guidelines in terms of content, format, structure, and style. There are many guidance, regulatory guidances for preparing their documents for regulatory submissions. For example, for writing clinical study report, there is ICH E3 guideline. So we have to comply with that guideline when we are preparing a clinical study report. Similarly, when you are going for scientific writing, you are preparing any publication, you can see there are requirements for that particular journal, that in this particular set of format you have to submit the manuscript. So we need to comply with those guidelines. And medical writers create documents that accurately and clearly expresses the result and outcome of the research. So whether your research results or your research outcome is negative or positive, you have to express that. You should not be like biased to present only positive results. If there are any negative results, these medical writing fraternity or industry fraternity accept negative, and they appreciate if there are any negative outcomes in your research. They appreciate if we publish that honestly. This is a spectrum of medical writing. So if you can see, there is regulatory medical writing and medical communication. So if you see in red, lightly regulated and creative. So as you go above from this arrow, the regulations become lightened. They are not strict regulations required for medical communication, and it becomes more creative. And at the bottom, if you can see here in red font, regulated and structured. So whatever comes under regulatory medical writing are very regulated. We have to comply. We don't have liberty to express creativity in this writing style. It is structured. So when I am preparing a clinical study protocol, it will be structured. There will be proper components which I need to comply, which I need to update. Similarly, for clinical study reports and other regulatory medical writing documents, like CTD module for regulatory submissions. There are 5 modules. You must be knowing that CTD, there are 5 CTD modules. So they are very structured. Then clinical study reports, PSURs, DSURs, investigator brochures, CMC reports, patient narratives. So as you go above in this particular arrow, it becomes lightly regulated, and you can add your creativity. For publications, you can add your creativity. Conference abstracts or posters are, you have a lot of scope of your creativity. You need to present your key information in concise manner. You go for presenting graphs and tables instead of a lot of words in your posters. So you become more creative as you go towards medical communications. So this is a difference between regulatory medical writing and medical communication. So as you go towards medical communication, regulations become light, and you can add your creativity. For example, for promotional materials, you can use your creativity, and there is no regulations. There is no structure. You can use your creativity to prepare promotional material. So this is about spectrum of medical writing. And regarding opportunities for medical writers, there are a lot of opportunities for medical writers. As I told that around 90%, more than 90% of communication is in written format. So there is huge scope, and it starts with medical communication agencies. You can apply for apply in medical communication agencies. There are scientific praise from where journals are released, so you can apply there. Then clinical research organization, huge scope is there in clinical research organizations. There are huge number of document types that are involved, that clinical research organizations are preparing for submission purpose. Then this is the field in which you can go for freelancing. You can work from home. There is no requirement that you go to the organization, you join any organization. You can sit at your home and you can get medical writing work at your home, and you can do freelancing on your own. Then advertising agencies, there are many advertising agencies who require medical writers. And obviously in pharmaceutical companies, there is huge potential or huge need for medical writers. And more, digital writing, there is huge scope in digital writing nowadays. There are many webinars are going on, or many publications are posted electronically. Patient education, there are a lot of initiatives taken for patient educations and e-learning, which is booming industry nowadays. And for that, they need many medical writers to join their companies. So there is huge potential in medical writing field. Medical writing opportunities. So I will take a pause here. If there are any questions, we can take questions about opportunities in medical writing, types of medical writing.
If you have any questions, please type on the question answer chat box. Anil sir, you can continue.
Okay, thanks. Next is, who requires medical writer? So medical writers mostly work with pharmaceutical industry. However, there are many other settings in which medical writers are required. So pharmaceutical healthcare product companies, including medical devices companies, they need medical writers. Contract research organizations, like we saw in our previous slide, that contract research organizations need medical writers. Business knowledge processing, outsourcing companies, BPOs and KPOs, scientific content and healthcare communication companies, functional service providers, they need medical writers. Media and publishing companies and medical journal, academic medical institutions, medical scientific societies, and healthcare website. There are many healthcare websites, and nowadays in this COVID era, many healthcare websites are newly formed. Around 300 to 400 new healthcare websites are formed in this particular 2-3 months of COVID era. So there is huge scope for medical writers. Medical writers are always in demand. So what are requirements to be a medical writer? Familiarity with medical concepts and terminologies is must. So if you want to become a medical writer, your familiarity with medical concept and terminologies is essential. Then academic qualification in one of the life sciences such as medicine, paramedical sciences such as pharmacy, microbiology, nutrition, diabetics, biochemistry, biotechnology is must. Here I want to give one example. I come across one medical writer, a very senior medical writer, who was MA English. She was not having a medical background, but during those days when medical writing emerged, that time communication skills, writing skills were of prime importance. So at that time she entered in medical writing field, and she is one of the prominent medical writer in our fraternity. And but nowadays there are many medical writers who are having this life sciences background. But previously there was a scarcity of medical writers who were having good writing or communication skills. So during those days, MA English people also applied for this post, and they are performing well. They acquired knowledge in medical field, and they are now prominent medical writers in our medical writing field. Next important requirement is ability to write, or other type you can say now, to communicate scientific information to their target audience. So targets are different. So if you're writing for regulatory authority, your target is regulatory authority, which is well structured. There are many guidelines. We need to comply those guidelines. We need to comply their templates and audiences, regulatory authorities. At the same time, when you are writing book, your audience is different. Your audience is students. When you are writing marketing material, medical marketing material, your audience is medical representatives and doctors. So considering your audience, your style will change. So to communicate scientific information to the target audience is important requirement for becoming a medical writer. In addition to the above basic requirements, one needs domain knowledge and language skills. So what domain knowledge is required, that we'll see in our further slides. Pharmacology. You must have pharmacology knowledge when you are writing a medical or scientific document or life sciences documents. Medical and therapeutic area knowledge. You must have medical and therapeutic area knowledge when you are becoming a medical writer. These are requirements. Drug development process. You must know drug development process, where drug development starts and where it ends, and what different documents are required at different stages of development of drugs. So you should know the process of development of drug, and at which stage which document type is required or which document submission is required. So you must know that. This is one of the domain knowledge which is must for any medical writer. Pharmacology, you must know about pharmacology of drugs. Then drug safety, it is very important because in regulatory domain we are dealing with safety of thousands and hundreds of lives. So it is very important to understand drug safety. Statistics, this is my personal favorite domain. Statistics, without statistics you can't interpret data which is generated in these clinical trials. So knowledge about statistics is very important. Descriptive statistics and inferential statistics, which descriptive statistics are applied and why those statistics are applied, and how to present descriptive statistics, and how to present inferential statistics. So this is must for any medical writer. So if you are planning to enter in medical writing field, please focus on statistics also, and uh, acquire as much as knowledge about statistics as much you can. That will be certainly helpful. And technical guidelines. So for regulatory submissions, we need to comply with regulatory guidelines. For example, if I'm going to submit my clinical study report in US FDA, so I need to comply with all the requirements or all the guidelines which are laid down by US regulatory authority. Similarly for EU and Japan, and if you must be knowing that EU, USA, and Japan have evolved a set of common guidelines, which is known as International Conference on Harmonization Guideline, which is related to drug development and registration. So when you are writing or when you are submitting your documents to regulatory authorities, you need to comply with this guideline. So these domain knowledge are required for any medical writer. And what are other general knowledges required or general skills required to a medical writer? Language and grammar. Use grammatically correct language, simple and short sentences. And we need to use active voice when you are presenting, when you are writing medical writing documents. Appropriate punctuation marks and logical flow of idea is very important. So when I'm preparing a protocol, my protocol is always in future tense, because whatever I am going to write in clinical study protocols is going to happen. So it will be in future tense. Whereas when I'm preparing a clinical study report, so whatever happened in that trial, I'm reporting that in clinical study report. So my tense in clinical study report will be past tense, that all this happened. Around 90 subjects enrolled in my study. So that will be in past tense. So grammar, punctuation marks, active voice, short sentences, simple sentences are key for medical writing. literature and reference searching. So when you are developing these documents, when you are going for manuscripts, you need to have this particular skill of literature searching and reference searching. In addition to books and medical journals, databases like Medlin, PubMed, Embase, Micromedics are commonly used for sourcing medical information. A lot of information you can search from these databases. So you must have that skill of searching literature from these databases and medical journals. Next is interpretation and presentation of research data. As I said in my previous slide, statistics is required. Statistics domain knowledge is must for medical writers. For interpretation purpose, you must know what is p-value, what is coefficient of variation, what is confidence interval, how to interpret these numbers or these analytical technique analysis. So interpretation statistics is statistics domain knowledge is must, and medical writers must have sufficient knowledge of research topic and should be able to understand the research design and data so as to interpret and present it to their readers. Next is ethical and legal issues. You must have heard about plagiarism. So this is one of the ethical and legal issue, including negative finding, following copyright laws, not indulging in plagiarism, following authorship criteria for research manuscripts. So there are different criteria for authorship. There are some parameters which we need to fulfill to be an author of any manuscript, and that we need to comply with. So it all comes under ethical and legal issues. So this is the main slide where we'll discuss key attributes which are required in medical writers. First and foremost is communication, written and verbal skills. So this is one of the attribute which is required to be a competent medical writer. I will quote here some examples, my personal examples. So communication, when we are saying we are writing these documents, why communication is important in medical writing? Because here in medical writing, we are dealing with number of stakeholders, starting from clinicians to pharmacokineticians to statisticians to regulatory people to sponsors. So we are continuously communicating with all these stakeholders. And when we are preparing documents, these documents are reviewed by these stakeholders. And if there are any conflicting comments, that is medical writers' responsibility to make them available at common platform and discuss those conflicting comments and get those resolved. So communication, negotiation skills, and obviously written skills are very important for any medical writer. So this is one of the key attribute to for any medical writer. Next is accurate interpretation of data. So for preparing clinical study reports, we just receive tables, the outcome of results in table format. So it is our responsibility to accurately interpret the data. So for that, statistics, as I mentioned in previous slide, it is very important to understand statistical terminologies and understand, and you must have that skill of interpreting data in accurate way. Next is teamwork. So again, I mentioned that there are many stakeholders involved in preparing these document types. So teamwork is important. So and there is a lot of interdependency. So my team members are dependent on me, and I am dependent on my team members. So teamwork is very essential, and you should be like team player if you want to become a medical writer. Attention to detail. So minutious details you need to consider, because you are whatever you are preparing in your documents, it is going to impact in a huge manner or in a huge way on sponsors, on patients who are participating in clinical trials. So attention to detail is a very important attribute or key attribute. Next is organizational skills. So for collaborating with other organizations such as other departments such as PK department, statistic department, quality assurance department. So there are many departments who are involved in writing or developing these document types. So organizational skills are also important. And then goal focused. You must have goal when you are preparing documents. You must have goal that in this particular timeline I need to complete my document. I need to, because as I mentioned, this is interdependent fraternity where a lot of things are depend on you. So once you complete, then only others will move ahead. So you need to be goal focused. You should take ownership of your documents when you are preparing and comply the timelines. Grammar is important, as I mentioned. Grammar is very important in preparing documents. Different document types need different grammar or different tenses or skills are required, and you need to communicate information in written format. So grammar is must. Ability to work under pressure. We really work under pressure, and though we are preparing under pressure, we need expectation from us is to deliver a quality document and within timeline. So at a time, there is a huge demand in medical writing. Many documents are going simultaneously. Currently, I am like managing 3 to 4 projects and working on 4 to 5 documents at a time. So we really work under pressure, and expectation from us to be 100% compliant all the time and deliver high quality documents. So you must have ability to work under pressure when you are entering in this particular field. Ability to meet deadlines. So there are strict deadlines from sponsor from our internal companies that we need to comply with. Accuracy and flexible and commitment. A lot of commitment is needed from our side, and we need to be flexible because now in our company we are working on some of the document types which are for COVID vaccines. So we need to be flexible and committed because this is urgent social need to deliver these documents so that they get approval and vaccines can come into market. So a lot of commitments is required, and we need to be flexible also. You need to be like ready to work on multiple document types at a time if needed. So you need to be flexible. You can't be rigid that now I'm working on these documents, these 2 documents, I will not be able to take third document. But yes, if there is a genuine reason that you are not able to take more documents, then you need to say no, as in previous session, Andrea mentioned that art of saying no. If there is no, you can't take, then you can say no. But most of the time, you need to be flexible if you are coming in this particular field. So take-home message from this session is medical writing is both a science and an art, because you are dealing in science, you are communicating scientific information, and at the same time, for some document types, you need to be creative. It requires an understanding in medical science and an aptitude for writing. A thorough knowledge of specific requirements for different types of medical documents and keeping up to date with the relevant guidelines is must. So these guidelines are always changing. So you need to keep yourself up to date on different guidelines which are there in for different regulatory authorities. Next is the demand for medical writing is growing steadily over the years. The pharmaceutical and healthcare industry offers number of job opportunities for medical writers. Graduates and postgraduates in life sciences who have the right skills and aptitude can consider taking up medical writing as a full-time profession. So these are take-home messages from this session. And for developing these slides, I referred these reading material which are there in this slide. I hope this slide will be shared with all of you. I'm not sure. So that's it from my side about medical writing and attributes which are required for medical writers that I have discussed. That's it from my side. If you have any question, please feel free to ask now.
Thank you very much, sir. There are some questions are there, sir.
Okay.
What are the criteria to become a medical writer?
That we discussed in our one of the slide, that you must know, you must be from medical science background or paramedical science background. You must be able to write accurate results, and you must have that domain knowledge and general skills that we discussed in our previous slide.
Next question is, sir, I am a Bachelor of Pharmacy candidate and I am working in a medical coding domain. Sir,
Okay.
can I shift to medical writing domain? And please give the glance how to crack the medical writing interview and how to apply the good medical writing companies like Canap's, Medica, Press, and Cactus.
Okay, I will go part by part. So first is whether that individual can shift from coding to medical writing. Yes, you can. Why not? If you have that attributes which are required for medical writers, you are welcome to medical writing field. And second part is what all is needed to become a medical writer. So the attributes which I discussed and the domain knowledge which I discussed in my slides, that are required. So, and cracking interviews, that knowledge is important. If you have that domain knowledge which is required for a medical writer, statistics knowledge and other domain knowledge which I discussed in my slide, if you develop that domain knowledge and that general knowledge which is required for a medical writer, you can easily crack any interview. You need to be up to date with regulatory guidelines which are there in place.
So next question is that is there any medical writing course available?
That question was asked in Andrea's presentation also. There is no formal course that I am aware of, but yeah, there are many diploma courses running, and you can Google and search. There are many diploma courses in medical writing. But ultimately, you need to prepare yourself in the domains which are required to become a medical writer.
So next question is that is the guideline for medical writing in different countries are same or different?
Uh, Internationally, ICH guidelines are used as a main guidelines, but yes, there are uh, country or region specific guidelines also. If you are going for Malaysian submissions, so you need to see if there are any requirements from Malaysia for submitting dossier. And generally and widely used guideline is ICH guideline. And if you go through ICH E6 guideline, you will have a very good idea what all document types are there in clinical trials and clinical research, and what it means. There are many terminologies discussed in ICH E6 guideline that you can see. But yeah, there is no formal course I'm aware of in medical writing, but yeah, you can develop. So that was about our previous question, that you can develop these domain knowledges, and you need to keep up to date with the guidelines. ICH guideline is standard guideline. In India, we follow Schedule Y. So in India, you can, if we need to submit to DCGI, I need to follow Schedule Y. Most of the things are similar in ICH guideline in and in Schedule Y. But yes, when I'm submitting dossier in India, I need to comply with Schedule Y, and I need to use ICH as a guideline for conducting my trial.
The next question is, sir, SAS is mandatory?
Sorry, can you please repeat your question?
SAS, is it mandatory?
SAS, yeah. SAS is statistics software, and it is required for statisticians. It is not required to us, but yes, if you have that knowledge, it is plus point for you, but it is not mandatory for medical writers.
So the next question is that similar to statistical concept, the coming from pharma background, how can we can gain the knowledge of statistical concept to make a career in medical writing?
You can go to YouTube. There are many very informative videos available on YouTube on statistical concepts for non-statisticians. So yeah, there are many good videos there in YouTube, and there are many trainings going on for statistics for non-statistician. I also conduct some trainings in my organization on this particular topic.
So next question is, how many medical writers required in one pharma industry?
It's good question. Um, and simple question, simple answer for this question is many. It depends on the strength of that particular organization, how big that organization is. If there is, it is a big organization, many medical writers are required, and if it is small, less number of medical writers will be required. But minimum 10 to 15 medical writers are required in a small organization, and depending on the hierarchy, many medical writers are required in big pharma companies. But yeah, it is not limited to pharma company. As I discussed, there is a lot of opportunities in scientific writing, publications. There are many companies who need to publish their research in journals, so they hire scientific writers, scientific communication writers also in their organization. So it is a very uh, difficult question to answer. But yeah, there is huge opportunity. As I mentioned, 90% of communication in medical field is written. So you can imagine how much medical writers are needed in any particular company.
Next question, sir. Does qualification affect the position, designation, as well as the quality of medical writing?
Designation, no. If you are having strong domain knowledge, if you have good communication skills, if you have good writing skills, it doesn't matter.
Next question, sir. What are the different types of referencing style?
There are different referencing style in scientific writing generally is taken care of, and for us, Vancouver style we are following in referencing in our regulatory documents. Vancouver style we are using. Then for publications, there are different other styles are used also. So yeah, Vancouver style is generally which we refer in our regulatory documents.
Next question, sir. Could you mention the tool used in medical writing? Can we get the access for our student to learn it?
Sorry, which tool?
Could you mention the tools used in medical writing? Is it there any tool that will be used in medical writing, and that can we get the access for our students to learn it?
Um, there are add-ins prepared by sponsors. So, for example, if I'm working on Pfizer document, they are having their own add-in which we attach in Microsoft Word, and we use that tool, and that is specific to that company. So that we can't share, but other very good tools you can refer is are like one is Grammarly. There is a free Grammarly tool available. You can Google and you can download in your systems. That will take care of your grammar. And second one is Perfect It. So both are available in free and subscription versions that are very useful if you're looking for any tool which will take care of your grammar, and which will take care of your consistency of documents.
So next question is, what are the opportunities for medical writer in pharmacovigilance and data management?
So different companies are using different different terms or different departments. For example, in Cognizant, in pharmacovigilance department, we used to prepare narratives, we used to prepare PSURs, we used to prepare DSURs. So those writing things used to come in pharmacovigilance department. But in my current organization, these documents we are preparing in medical writing department. So it is so whatever we are writing in safety about safety comes under pharmacovigilance. So there are many documents which are prepared related to safety. So all those comes under pharmacovigilance.
The next question is related to that, sir. Same. Pharmacovigilance, clinical research, and drug regulatory affairs are correlated to medical writing field.
Yeah, our department is central department where we collaborate with these all departments. When we are preparing documents, we are sending these documents to all these departments for review. So when I'm preparing a clinical study report, it will go to pharmacovigilance department also. They will just review safety related information in my document. When I'm sending that document to regulatory department, they will be reviewing my document related to regulatory requirements. And similarly for pharmacokinetics department, they will just go through my PK information which I captured is correct or accurate or not. So yes, we are collaborating with all the departments where they are having their specific roles.
Okay, thank you, sir. Is it any questions from panelists?
Anil sir,
Yes.
I want to ask one question. First of all, thank you very much for this nice session. Many of our students is also watching this session, present for this session. Just a minute, sir. Excuse me. So on behalf of our student, you are also alumni of this Anuradha Pharmacy College. I want to ask you how you can motivate our students, because we find that very few students approach to this medical writing. Actually, they are not very much aware of that, and that will be really solve the purpose of this particular organizing this conference. So how you can motivate our students to approach this area of our pharmacy field, medical writing field?
This is very good question, sir. Thanks for asking this. And I honestly think on this line only. When I came to Chikli, I was thinking that what was not available at my time, I should make it available for the student. At that time, there was lack of awareness what is going on in industry. There was a huge gap, so I was not aware of that. So but when I came to here, I had some discussions with Dr. Biani sir also about this, that I want to percolate my knowledge to the students. So I'm ready to help in any way to percolate my knowledge to students, make them aware of all these industry happenings. And if they want to make their career in medical writing, they can start with preparing manuscripts, they can start with preparing abstract. And if you want, we can have a separate session on that also. It is very easy. And, in that we can elaborate how to start with writing abstracts, how to go for manuscript writing, and where to publish, how to search publications where you can post or publish your articles. So this will be good initiative for them to start with publication. At this level, they can at least start showing their inclination that they are ready for medical writing field, and there is huge potential in medical writing field. So they can start with something like poster presentation, abstract writing, or publication. So that will be helpful for them. And if they need a session, a particular session on this, we can have that also.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, sir, for asking this question.
Any questions from panelists?
Thank you. We can screen, even we can form one group, those who are interested to join this particular medical writing as a medical writer. So we can form a group, and that group can be from Bhojwani sir.
Yes, sir, definitely.
Bhojwani sir.
Yes, sir. Sounds like a good idea.
So we can form one group. We can sort out some students, those who are willing to join this particular field, and definitely we will work on them.
Sure, sir.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for giving us important knowledge regarding the medical writing and what are the actual roles of medical writer and what are the different opportunities in the medical writer. I again thank you very much, sir, for taking initiative to organize this event for international level. Because of your efforts and support, this unique program got arranged. Thank you very much, sir.
My pleasure.
Now I inform that
Once again, we are very grateful. Ujjwani sir, we are grateful to you because means it could become possible only because of your initiation and support. Thank you so much. And definitely, we are willing to continue this partnership with your industry. Thank you so much.
thank you, sir. Now I inform that we will meet tomorrow for the second day of this international virtual conference at the same time, 5 p.m. Tomorrow's speakers are also eminent and masters of their subject. Honorable Shalini Dwivedi Madam, Director of Kinaps, a senior health company, and Honorable Nikita Viz Madam, Manager Regulatory Affairs Kinaps, a senior health company. Once again, I thank to all. Now, with the permission of Principal Sir, I declare that today's session is over.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
sir.
sir. Thank you.
Have a
Thank you.
good
Okay, sir.
time. See you tomorrow.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Anil
you very
sir.
much.
Thank you,
Thank
sir. Thank you.
you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.